Hey, welcome to another weekly edition of Hall Hoops and Happenings. This is Bobby Blackjack. I have only one ear. Apparently, I had an ear infection on Monday night, and I was bleeding from my ear yesterday, so I can't hear out of this ear. So I'm gonna be a little wonky tonight. Anyway, to my right we have Nick from Milburn. Nick, what's going on?
What's up, Bobby? Hope you feel better, my guy.
Thank you. Paul Justafan, what's up?
How you doing, Bobby?
We got the Gister.
Hello.
Who should be debuting her new segment in a few months, covering the red carpets of all the major award shows. That's her new thing coming forward. And below me, the recent graduate and now gainfully employed Chris Jones. Chris, what's up?
How's it going?
All right, Nick, take us away. Let me do my producing thing, and let's get going.
Hey guys, what's up, everyone? First, like to thank all our loyal viewers and followers and everyone else for tuning in each and every week. This is a labor of love. We enjoy doing it, but we appreciate you. So please make your comments. We love it when we have interactions. And I have a scoop. If you are in the West Orange area right now, and if you belong to LA Fitness in West Orange, Adam Sandler is on the basketball court playing some hoops, doing a run with the locals there. Nicole just found out who Adam Sandler was. I don't know if you ever saw an Adam Sandler movie, but big movie star Adam Sandler is right now at LA Fitness. And speaking about someone, perfect segue with famous people at concerts, styling and profiling, Chris Jones, how is the job going?
It's going very well. It's actually going very well. I was just there today, got home 7:30, had a quick dinner, and then got right here. So it's going very well. It's some late nights. I'll just say that. There have been some days where I've been there till 2 a.m. But it's a transition into it, but it's going very well.
Chris is working at MetLife, his first job out of college. He is gainfully employed. And have you gotten to watch any of the events, and what has been some of your favorite events so far?
Yeah, so the events I have seen so far, I have seen Beyonce and I've seen The Weeknd. We now have upcoming the FIFA Club World Cup that's being played starting this Sunday. So that's going to be a big one. So between the two I've seen, I mean, Beyonce and The Weeknd was very good. But I think seeing this soccer tournament, this is going to be a big one. But I get kind of a front view of everything. I'm up in one of the press boxes, so I get to see the entire event from up there. So seen some cool things so far, but obviously still a lot to come.
When the games start, is that when your work stops, or does it get more intense when the event it gets more intense?
Yeah, it gets more intense because obviously with the broadcast side of things, we control the audio going throughout the entire stadium. So we also have to make sure everything's at the right level. And I'm kind of the person that controls that. I have the system in front of me where I can change different spaces, the audio coming in each of those spaces. So once the event starts, it starts to pick up a lot more. So as much as I would like to say that I get to enjoy the event, unfortunately, it's not as much as I would like to.
We'll go on to Seton Hall Pirate Basketball now. Paul, we had some signings since our last show. Is Paul there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I just needed to go off camera for a second. So here I'm back.
Patrick Sumanik, who Evan Maya has him as 982. And, take these rankings with a grain of salt. But the only reason I bring them up is because since we don't know what's being spent on players or what our budget is or any of that, you sometimes this is a good indication of the quality of player and what they are worth on the market by this ranking. So, Paul, take it away.
So when we look at his statistics, we're looking at a guy who played about 9 or 10 minutes a game, 3 points, 1.5 rebounds. I don't think that we're looking at a guy who's going to be getting a ton more time. I'm thinking of him right now because he's a senior. He's a fifth year. So I think I'm thinking of him as 5 fouls off the bench. If
Right.
somebody gets in foul trouble and you need to go in and hack their other guy for a while, he can do that. Certainly he hasn't shown anything offensively. Now you need bench players. You're not going to, one of the things we were talking about last week is how so far there are 253 minutes from last season on this team. So somebody is going to be looking at a reduction in minutes. So I think that you're basically looking at a guy who's not going to play a lot, but we need guys off the bench. We need guys in case people get injured. And I think that's going to be a role he's going to be as a big man. If we don't expect too much, he might surprise us.
Didn't we sign another player, Paul, also?
No, there was discussion that if we signed Ceramic, or again, I can't pronounce anybody's name. Sumnik, that we would also get the point guard from that school. Now, I'm not sure what we would do with another point guard. We seem to have enough point guards as it is. But, he was sort of supposed to come over in a package deal. But again, we haven't seen anything.
Well, they are on campus right now. Summer school has started, and the team, not sure the exact rules. I know they can have individual workouts. There is certain amount of time that coach could spend with them. I saw a video posted that had my guy, Coach Ryan Whalen, running them through some drills, and they're getting at it. So this is the first piece of the puzzle for Shah. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the parcel line. If I'm going to cook the dinner, I want to buy the groceries. Well, Shah is cooking the dinner, and he bought the groceries. We just don't know how much money he had to spend on the groceries. And speaking of Seton Hall players and Seton Hall greats, Nicole, you were at a Seton Hall event this weekend, started off with a gala, and then you worked on Saturday, and there was an NBA player and a former Pirate on campus. Sandro Mama Calavilli. Did I say it right?
Mamu.
Yeah.
Alexandro.
Sandro. Nicole, what's up? How'd it go? You're on mute. Nicole.
That's what I was saying, Mamu, and I guess no one heard. Okay, I was working the Yak Young Alumni yard games pretty much since 9 in the morning. So around 2 o'clock, we closed up shop, and they told me, go to the tour, go see the tour. So I was like, okay, I'll go check it out. I haven't seen it yet. I wanted to see the bricks. The bricks are not ready yet. They said by end of August they should be fully installed outside the arena.
Have they sold all the bricks? Are
yes,
the bricks
they have.
Yeah,
yes,
awesome. Okay.
They're done. So now they could officially put them all in. So we walk into the building, and I look up the staircase, and I see a familiar guy, and it's Coach Shah.
Okay.
But to my surprise, who was he talking to? Mamu. I was like, what the heck is he doing here? It was so much fun to see him. He was so nice. He took pictures with everyone. Shah did too. And then I got another some pictures and stuff of the inside the facility, the refresh room, the new court, and the weight room. And one of the coaches that was giving the tour, he jokingly told us to tell Godswill, who was in the weight room, that he needs to work extra hard this year.
Now, did you find out what was Sandro just visiting? Was he at the Like, what was Sandro doing there?
That I don't know, but he seemed to have been there for Shaw. So I wonder if he's going to be giving some type of mentorship to these new guys.
I think it is great when old players come back. That's how you build a program. I know number 15, Isaiah Whitehead, was there not that long ago. So when that happens, it's a wonderful thing. So you had fun. You had fun on Saturday.
Oh, I did. It was exhausting going from the gala to alumni weekend, but it was extremely rewarding. And I met so many of you guys. which was even a crazier shock. Most of them came up to me and they read my name tag and they're like, "Oh, you're the one from the Facebook group." Or they'd go up to my sister who was working check-in at all different areas of the reunion. They're like, "I know your sister. She runs the Facebook group."
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Loved it. I met Claire.
That is awesome.
I met Phyllis. I met so many other people. It was amazing to, get to see them and talk to them and actually put a name to the face. It was awesome.
Now that was Saturday.
Yes.
Now Friday you went to the gala. Did
Yes.
you go home after the gala and then came back? Or okay. So tell us about we have to hear everything about your gala.
Oh my goodness. The gala was so, let me get the picture of Yak. The gala was a lot of fun. This year it was at the Stone House at Sterling Ridge in Warren. Beautiful venue. Much more nicer than last year's venue.
How many people attended the gala?
I would say about 275.
Wow.
I would say it was a packed house. There was a really nice cocktail hour with 2 open bars. They had hors d'oeuvres going around. And there was this really cool squiggly thing that they were holding, and it had like hors d'oeuvres on it, and you got to like take it off. It was so intricate. They had some really nice silent auction items. There was some Knicks jerseys. There was some Giants jerseys. There was a Top Gun piece. I would have bid on it. However, they had a picture of Tom Cruise with Anthony Edwards' signature. Now, if it was Tom Cruise's signature, I would have bid on it. I promise. But they had that. They had some devil stuff. They had some tickets to future.
Did you bid on the devil? Did you bid on the devil stuff?
No, I didn't bid on anything. Last year my dad bid on a couple of stuff, but I didn't. It wasn't as good of a selection this year as it was last year. There was a ton more stuff. I got to reconnect with some of my old professors. I got to meet some of my sister's friends because she also went. And I got to rekindle with Yak. Our summer events are starting up soon, so it was great to discuss those and see how everyone's doing because it's been a crazy year. And yeah, the honoree speeches were amazing. All the honorees 100% deserve those awards. It was amazing to see the kind of impact that they've had on their local communities and beyond. Yeah, it was just incredible. And if this will cooperate with me, this is Yak. And then there's the dress I picked. It's a dark purple sequin dress.
Wow. Very nice, Nicole. Nice choice. Very nice choice. So you went to the cocktail hour. There are 2 open bars. You mingled. Then you went to your table. Who was at your table?
Young Alumni Council.
Just the young alum. Those were the people in the picture.
Yes, it was my idea to have a designated Yak table. Good
idea.
Yeah,
you need another acronym for that.
Nicole. Yeah, Yak. Did anybody yak?
No.
Yacked? No one yacked?
No.
Paul, I couldn't. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that descriptive. I mean, I was a young alumni once, and that would have been an appropriate thing for how I spent quite a few Saturdays.
Now, Nicole, someone else, another girl, young yacker or whatever in the picture, did she have the same dress on? Like, and what happens when that happens? I mean, I know you worked hard to pick the dress.
No, no one had the same dress.
None of your fellow yackers had, no?
No, I was the only one wearing purple.
Good job. So tell us, some other things about the, who got the awards?
So the first award, it was actually a dual award. It was the Alumni Impact Award. It was awarded to a mother-daughter duo. I know Beth and Brooke Moran were the ones who were acknowledged for that award. It was really cool to see. Brooke was actually a Seton Hall soccer player. She graduated in 2003. Her mother graduated, I believe, in 1976. It was great to see the impact that Seton Hall had on their lives and how they've given back to their communities. And then our very own Facebook group member, Vina Taylor-Reddy, she was the Young Alumni recipient, and her speech was so good, but we all could agree her dog Tico, he blew the whole video away. He pretty much he was the star of the show. He was so cute. And then lastly was the most distinguished alumna award that went to Stephen Ward. He is a cybersecurity professional, and his speech, arguably the best of them all, and I'm not just saying that because I am a cybersecurity geek, he had no notes whatsoever. He spoke from the heart, pretty much said how he was at Rutgers for one day and he went to Bailey Hall and he begged to be let back in. Like, that's just where I wanted to go. And then he went to Duffy Hall to apply to be an RA, and the lady said, "Oh, you missed the application thing. It closes tonight." And he's like, "Tonight, what time?" And she said, "When I leave." So he literally sat there for 2 hours and filled out that application.
Wow.
Talk about ambition and go-getter. It was so inspiring.
So he was impressive.
Oh, extremely.
And how did my guy Fanta do? How did John do as MC?
Oh, he was great. He literally talked about how much Seton Hall is home. And that's the one thing that we all have in common as alums when we go back there. It literally feels like home. Oh, and I will say, I know Nick is going to appreciate this. In Steven's video that they play before they announce the award, George Kurtz made an appearance.
Wow. George Kurtz is our vitamin water guy who doesn't like basketball like Foley likes basketball.
See, we gotta find who's number 2 on the list. This guy is not working out. It's obvious. He's doing stuff for the education department, which is great, right? So we gotta find who's the top 5 on this list.
Nicole, who are our other? Kurtz is a no-go. Who else?
I tell you, Nick, we got Gary V.
I love that idea.
I got to think about it more, but I do know that the vice president of the Chicago Bulls is a former Seton Hall basketball player.
Well, yeah, Travis Kardashian, yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's not making a lot of money though. See,
no.
And Mamu could probably give us a little something, right? But he hasn't had that big contract yet. Like so many of these programs, like we mentioned during the show, whether it's college football or college basketball, their alum in the pros are giving them big checks because they're making a lot of money. Mamu hopefully gets that big check soon where he can maybe do a little something. But until then, we can only hope, be grateful for what he can give us.
I mean, we have no way of knowing, but, like you had said one week, what's Mo Vaughn giving back to the university? What's Craig Biggio giving back to the university? What's Mark Bryant giving back to we have no idea of knowing. But again, all those guys combined aren't George Kurtz, who I think he makes worth $5 billion.
Yeah, there's quite a few commas in his net worth. A lot more commas than I have in mind, frankly.
I'm on a website that came up for like 100 notable alumni of Seton Hall. Number 1 is Chris Christie, obviously. Number 2 is someone named.
Wait. Why obviously?
Because he was governor. He was governor of New Jersey. He comes back to Seton Hall all the time.
Right. There are other governors of
He's a Cowboys fan like you.
He's a Cowboys
fan.
Yes,
he is a Cowboys fan.
I mean, Chris is but number 1, Chris. Okay.
Although Chris Christie did
on the list, it says he's number 1, like down the order.
Okay. No, I'm okay.
Number
Paul,
2
what about,
is
wait, Paul had a comment about the governor.
I believe he did a commercial for Rutgers football once.
Did he actually?
Yes. He did. Well, he was a governor. You have to play both sides, I guess.
Well,
governor. Yeah.
Number 2 is Dooley Hill. He's a American actor.
Yes.
Wait. His name's Dooley Hill. And what was he in, Nicole? Famous show.
Because he was deputy assistant to the chief of staff Charlie Young on The West Wing.
West Wing with Martin Sheen. You ever see it?
And then the other show.
I have not seen it, but I'm gonna have to now, given you told me.
You gotta watch. Yeah, he was in some show with He was like, wait, what? Bobby, tell me. A detective show or something.
Yeah, something. It has like a one-word name, I think.
Monk. Was he in Monk?
No.
Not Monk?
I forget.
He was like a side. He was a sidekick.
Yeah.
But he was better in
He was
better
in Psych.
West Wing.
Psych.
All right, who's third, Nicole?
Number 3 is Artie Lange.
Who?
No. Wait,
Artie
wait, what list is this? What list is this?
This is edurank.org.
What? You know who Artie Lang is, right? He's from the Howard Stern show, but he got kicked off the show.
2009.
Who else?
He's a Seton Hall graduate?
Yeah. Wait, is Tony Soprano on that list?
I didn't
Only
get
one
that far. Number 4 and number 5 are both sports related. 4 is Dan Hurley, obviously. Number 5 is Dick Vitale.
Dick
Number
Vitale.
Nicole, you got to get that one right.
You're Italian, Nicole.
There's an I at the end of your name.
I know who that is.
Okay.
Number 6 is Max Weinberg.
You know who he is?
E Street Band.
There you go. Mighty Max Weinberg. Good job, Nicole.
I'm
I will
surprised
admit,
at that one.
I'm not the biggest fan of Bruce, so like I could do without the music. I'm not a big fan of him.
Nicole, we need the list of richest alumni.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I know these are just like maybe Max might be pretty rich, but
Max Weinberg has
he has to be. I can understand someone not liking Bruce's politics or going to his concert.
No, I just don't like his music.
You just don't like his music?
No. I think he sounds constipated when he sings.
Wow.
Don't tell Chris Jones that when he
Oh my God.
concert next year.
Bruce.
Chris is shaking his head. He's like, oh boy.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Don't hit Chris Jones up for Bruce tickets, Nicole.
I would never go. Even
You
if
would
I
never go?
I would never go see him. No.
Luigi calls you up and says, Nicole, I have 2 tickets to go see Bruce. You're not going.
No. Hell no.
That's my first concert ever, 1985, Born the USA tour,
Oh, at
Giant Stadium,
Giant.
Wow.
It was awesome. I might have been to that night.
and I was there the last night of Giant Stadium as well.
Wrecking Ball.
Wrecking Ball, yeah.
Okay, so determining the richest Seton Hall alumni is difficult without a definitive list of their net worth, but some prominent alumni known for their business success include George Kurtz, which we know.
He's number 1, right?
Yeah, on this AI overview that came up when I searched it. Orrin R. Smith, who is the former chairman and CEO of Engelhard Corporation. I don't know who he is. Number 3, William F. Andrews, the former chairman of the Singer Corporation and Corrections Corporation of America. Other notable alumni include Juan Sebastian Agudelo, director at Bridge Investment Group, according to the Seton Hall University Advancement website.
And it's got to be some big lawyer, right? You would think?
He does give back a lot to the alumni department because I've heard his name before.
We have one shot with Mr. Kurtz. That would be deploying Stack Monster to just get under his skin so badly that he just said, I give up. Here's a check.
Stack Monster would be very good at fundraising, actually.
I think
Very
so.
persistent.
Be quite a few people would pay him just not to come over.
Seton Hall has been promoting the first alumni golf outing, and this golf outing is actually sponsored by a Seton Hall alum's cybersecurity consulting company. Hold on, let me find it.
Kurtz's competition?
It's not as big as CrowdStrike, but
Okay. Now we develop the supply and demand, right?
it's Morgan Franklin Consulting. That's the name of the company, and it's owned by a Seton Hall alum, CEO.
That might be our avenue because they get jealous of the up and coming guy.
And there's a ton of like sponsors that are listed on the Instagram story of all these different companies. I don't know if there's any connection to alums or stuff, but I do see Bridge Investment Group, which is Juan Sebastian's. I might have to look into this more, but KPMG and Deloitte were also sponsors.
This might be a good segue, Paul, into the settlement. talking about NIL and stuff.
So they, as everybody probably has seen, 5 different people posted it to the Facebook group. The House settlement has been agreed to, and Judge Wilkin has agreed to it. The specifics are pretty much what we discussed before. The 4 power conferences have agreed to the settlement. They were the defendants in the class action suit for NIL. That's what started the conversation. And every member of the Power 4 conferences has agreed to abide by the rules that are going to be set down from the new college sports commissioner, whose name is Brian Seeley, and we'll talk about him in a second. Every school can share up to $20.1 million with their athletes. Every athlete must get something. Most of the schools in the Power 4 conferences are going to be sharing 75% of that $20 million with their football program, and sharing perhaps 15% with their men's basketball program, 5% with their women's basketball program. That works out to about $3 million and $1 million respectively. The Big East is in a strange position because the Big East, when they opt in, I'm sure the Big East will opt in, can spend the same $20 million as everybody else. But number one, they don't have football, so they don't have to spend it on football players. They could certainly spend more of it on basketball. But number two, the Big East schools frankly have less revenue for the same reason. They're not selling 600,000 tickets to football games like Penn State is over the course of a season. They're not getting Big Ten network revenue or SEC network revenue. So the schools in the Big East have less money in their athletic departments. They can spend as much as everybody else, but they have to have it. And essentially the Big East schools will probably have less.
How much will the Big East schools have? Any way of knowing?
I could take a look. Let me just do one quick. Let me just see.
So the Big East pot will be switched. It'll be split from, I guess, TV revenue and the money that we get in anyway, right? So now that money can be spent on NIL and athletes, correct?
That's right. So by way of rough analysis, Villanova, I just checked, has $40 million in athletic department revenue last year. And the University of Michigan had $266 million.
Wow.
So when you start to talk about how, now Michigan obviously is going to have one of the, they've got 100 and something seat stadium. They went to the college football playoff. Their revenue is across the board. But we are talking about orders of magnitude difference between what the Big Ten, ACC, and the Southeastern Conference are going to have and what the Big East is going to have. Now, one of the things that I read is that the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten are already worried about the fact that the Big East can spend more money on basketball, and they are kicking around the idea of
not spend. Well, let me just check you for 1 second. Out of that money, but they can spend NIL money. This has anything to do with Rapoli and the big donors.
No, that's a separate thing.
That's separate. Right.
But Villanova can spend the same $20 million as Michigan can.
Right. Got you.
Now, Michigan's spending it out of $266 million in revenue. Villanova's spending it out of $40 million worth of revenue.
Got you.
But if Villanova decided we're not going to spend $20 million, we're going to spend 10, but we want to spend $8 million on our basketball program, the Big East, if they have enough money, can still probably outspend on men's basketball the Power 4 conferences. And so the Power 4 conferences are talking about trying to implement a team-based spending revenue sharing cap so that it's not just $20 million per school, but it might be no more than a certain amount per team. But that hasn't gone through yet. Now, Nick, to your point, there still is the NIL pool, Rapoli and the other donors. That will be more tightly regulated. Any deal worth more than $600 needs to be registered through a web page that is going to be managed by Ernst, the accounting company. and reviewed by the commissioner of college sports. There's going to be a college sports commissioner separate from the NCAA, and his name is Brian Seeley. So anything more than $600 gets reviewed. So, for example, let's suppose that Savannah Catalan was got a deal through our NIL collective to make appearances at basketball camps and high school basketball dinners, and she was getting paid $1,000 an appearance. She'd have to register that through this NIL page, and then they could make a decision as to whether $1,000 for an appearance by Savannah was an appropriate amount, or whether it was essentially padding money. So that's they, and I now just to use that example, a typical NBA player gets $2,000 for an appearance. People like LeBron get $200,000 for an appearance. So $1,000 for a college basketball, women's college basketball player in New Jersey may or may not be reasonable, but the commissioner gets to review those things. So a corporate sponsor has a lot more flexibility. Rapoli has, as a corporate sponsor of the team, has a lot more flexibility in paying St. John's kids than simply people donating to the collective. So I think that those kinds of schools have an advantage. Finally, the last piece of this is I want to talk a little bit about the college sports commissioner. This regulation of the old NCAA regulations, eligibility, progress toward a degree, number of times you could contact a recruit, all of those kinds of things are still going to be done through the NCAA. The NCAA has relaxed a lot of those rules, but they still exist and they still have to be followed, and the NCAA will still be enforcing them. But the NIL and the revenue sharing will be enforced by a college sports commissioner, and his name is Brian Seeley. This guy is a former executive at Major League Baseball. He was the person who led the investigation into the Houston Astros sign stealing and came up with the punishments for them. He is known to be an enforcer. He is a Princeton University graduate. So from a point of view of athletics, he's coming out of a kind of a non-revenue environment, right? I don't think that Princeton spends a lot of money or has a lot of athletic revenue. But he's supposed to be a very tough guy, and he's supposed to be the person who's going to enforce all the rules around the outside NIL. So that's what I know. I think that this potentially could be very advantageous to the Big East if we can find the money out of our athletic department's revenues.
Well, let me ask you this. What is Seton Hall's athletic revenue? You read Villanova. Do you know what Seton Hall's is?
Let me just take a look.
Because Seton Hall is,
and by the way,
we're still going to have to pay the bills, though, right? Like the salaries and everything else still has to get paid, right?
Yeah, I mean, so Seton Hall's about $30 million in revenue.
Okay.
And last year they basically just about broke even.
So now they're going to have to find a way to take $5 million out of that 30 that was going somewhere else, breaking even, and pay players, correct?
That's right.
Yep.
That's exactly the way it's going to go. So they're going to need to increase revenues by about they're going to need to increase revenues by whatever it is that they want to share.
Or cut costs. Which means some programs, right?
Yeah.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And it's it will be interesting. No one knows yet how much outside fundraising is going to be a factor. The commissioner is, I think, trying to make it not be as much of a factor.
Outside fundraising not for NIL, for the university.
For NIL. In other words,
but if you give money to Pirate Blue, which goes to athletics, that can go toward NIL, correct?
Well, I think that would
count the new way.
I think that would count as revenue, right? That would
count as revenue, right?
And so if somebody gave $100,000 to Pirate Blue, they're giving it to the athletic department. That's revenue.
Got you.
And so that would be a way to fund the $4 or $5 million that we're going to need to be competitive in basketball, in men's basketball. So that's, again, now to be honest with you, if you look at some of the schools like Michigan, they barely break even. I think that the profits I think Penn State ran at a loss. Rutgers always runs at a loss, a significant loss. So the fact that these schools have a lot of money coming in doesn't mean that they have a lot of money laying around to pay the players. I believe that technically the athletic department pays for the tuition of scholarship athletes. So out of that revenue, the $266 million comes however many athletes are there, whoever's on scholarship, whatever Michigan costs, $40,000 a year or whatever it costs. And that it's not just a paper transaction. That money actually has to move from the athletic department to the to the bursar's office. So again, I don't think that there's people just running around with money, but there is now a path toward competitiveness for Seton Hall in that we can at least come in with table stakes in terms of if we can find that kind of money to pay to start off doing revenue sharing.
But here's my thing, and Nicole went to the Stillman School of Business, and I did, and Paul, you went to Yale. So everyone's going to have more money to spend, theoretically, correct?
Yes.
So then what happens to the people who that money is going to?
So your point, I mean, if everybody just gets handed, if every school in the Power Four and the Big East just gets handed $4 million out of their athletic department budget, then the kids are all just gonna have a bigger pie to split up.
Right. That's my point. Right. Well, no, the kids are going to get more money.
Yes,
because there's more money out there. Right.
Exactly. But if before we had 1 million and St. John's had 7, now we have 5 million, St. John's has 11. I'm not sure that we've caught up at all.
No. No. Because the player that was getting 2 million is now getting 3.5 million. And if it's true what they say about Isaiah Coleman getting 1.2 million, now he's going to get 2.1 million.
Exactly.
So
it again, I'm not sure. I mean, at least we have something in the budget we can start to talk about.
Right.
And then finally, the last things that's interesting is that the players are going to have to sign contracts with the schools. And
that is a good thing.
And the contracts right now, they can't quite figure out what they want them to be.
Are they multi-year contracts?
They don't know yet.
No.
No?
Definitely not.
1 year contracts?
1 year.
Now,
why? Because there's no academic clauses in them.
Now, but one of the things that I saw was that they can't be pay per play, right, Nicole? Like they have, so technically
they have to maintain a certain GPA and they have to go to class. That's in the contract. Like it's all financial though. There's nothing about academics besides that in them.
But interestingly enough, they also have to, like, they can't be required to play, but they have to play. It's a very weird situation. Like among the football schools, you know how players now, if they don't go to the college football playoff, they don't want to play in a bowl game.
Right.
Right. There were some contracts that had a clause that said if you were healthy and the team was playing in a bowl game, you had to play in it. Yet if the contracts look too much like pay for play, then there's going to be an argument that the athletes are really employees of the school and therefore they can unionize. And that's going to create a whole other set of interesting issues because now there's going to need to be a collective bargaining agreement. And by the way, I honestly believe that will ultimately be what has to happen because the judge approved the settlement. There were representatives of the people who were suing that agreed to the settlement. But as soon as there's a basketball player or a football player who says he could have made more money, but he couldn't get it because of the limits on revenue sharing, and I think that the whole settlement's going to be relitigated. I honestly think the only way that this is going to end up working is if the athletes are represented by a collective bargaining agent that can agree to a structure for how these negotiations go.
Chris Jones, do you have any thoughts on all this?
It's I don't know. It's a lot to take in to like understand, because obviously in the world that we're in now with college sports, money has taken it over, and I have found that I try to keep myself out of it only because the enjoyment I've always gotten from college sports is that I see it as young kids having fun playing basketball, obviously trying to win. But there was more enjoyment behind it because it wasn't so, I don't want to say political, but it wasn't, in a way, it wasn't as political. But now it is because of all this. So personally, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I have not heard much about this at all because I've stayed out of it. Because again, I feel like money is ruining college sports a little bit. So it's a lot. There's a lot going on. But yeah, it's I'm interested to see where this goes, though, at least for Seton Hall, because they've obviously always had the NIL issue and money issue, and are they ever going to have enough to pay the players? So I'm interested to see where it goes.
And Chris, to your point, I'll tell a story. When I was an undergraduate, I had a friend who was at Boston College, and he got his tickets to see the Georgetown game at the Boston Garden. Patrick Ewing was playing for Georgetown. And one of the players on Boston College got into a shoving match with Patrick Ewing, and Patrick Ewing took a swing at him. Now, the next day, we're sitting in one of the cafeterias, and my friend's friend says, "Oh, there's the guy who got into the fight with Patrick Ewing. I got him in a class." So he comes over with his tray, sits down. We're talking to him like he was a college kid. You know what I mean? We're talking to him like he's a celebrity, but he was just a guy in a college, and he started talking about what he said, and he made a horribly mean-spirited comment to Patrick Ewing that started the fight, which I won't repeat. But he was a college student there, and was accessible, and really was one of the people like the other people from BC that we were hanging out with. And I wonder if that's going to go away, if these guys are, flying in, playing for a year, and then taking off, if they're not going to have any connection with the student body.
So when my son, to follow up on Paul's point, when my son was a manager for Seton Hall, the kids would, go, I think there was a few days, and definitely for Christmas, the kids would go home with their families. Now, some of the foreign players couldn't go home to their families because they were in Nigeria or whatever. So they would find places for them to go. And a lot of times they would go with certain, friends of Seton Hall or whatever. And the players, didn't particularly like that because they were treated as, like you said, as like, not like, just like a player. They weren't treated as a student or so, a couple times they came over my house for Christmas dinner, and they were just, someone else, Nick's friend. Like if Chris Jones it wasn't really a big deal. One year, my sister made a comment about how tall they were. But besides that, they were just another player, another person at the dinner table. And they appreciated that. Now is that going to go away when they sit at the dinner table and they make more than everyone else at the dinner table and they're 20 years old? I mean, I don't know.
And that's always what I've seen is like,
yeah,
I understand that a lot of people have their eyes on college sports, and that a lot of these players are known. They're well known for how they play, what they do, whatever it is. But at the same time, again, they are college students. They are in the same boat as a lot of other kids. Obviously, they have these freakish athletic talents that allow them to do what they do. I understand that. But they are now being treated as if they are like Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James. Like they're being treated like they are to some of those standards. And now when you see them on campus or wherever it is, it's like everyone just like sits back and looks at them like there's some like alien that like has never been seen before. When in reality, they're a college student. So that's why I've always been not against NIL, because again, I think players should be paid for the revenue they bring in for some schools and for some companies or whatever it is. I've always understood that, but I think now the day we're in has been taken to another level, to the point where they are now on their own pedestal, and it separates them from everyone else. And that's always where I've found the issue with money in college sports.
I agree with you, my friend, because it was never supposed to be pay to play, and it's exactly pay to play now. And, a kid getting something because someone bought his jersey at the bookstore, I agree with that, but it shouldn't be pay to play, and it is, and it's ruining it. It is. No hard feelings about the kid, but to the kid, because, make whatever you can. That's the whole idea of going to college, but it's ruining college basketball and college. You wouldn't know, though, by looking at the ratings, right? Because the NCAA. But for someone with a small Catholic school like us, it's, will we ever have a shot ever? I don't know.
Well, not only that, Nick, are we ever going to see a run like St. Peter's had or FDU with those upsets? Because, the back end, the mid-majors, or God forbid the other term that someone said, the micro-majors, right? Someone is going to find someone to give them money and just going to push them up the chart. And it's just not going to help us, right?
I mean, hey,
All it's
look.
going to take is some, for example, let's say High Point University. I'm just throwing a school out there. All it's going to take is one very wealthy, sports-loving alum to throw them a boatload of money, and they're going to rise up the charts.
That happened with BYU, right? They got the number one high school recruit in the country. When did that ever happen with BYU? Yeah, exactly.
And I actually look at it the other way too, Bobby. If you're at St. Peter's, are you ever going to have a junior on your team?
Great point.
I mean,
great point. Because after freshman year, if they're any good, they're going to transfer.
They're gone.
Someone's going to gobble them.
Especially as we hear that, people like Patino and other folks are saying we're not even going to recruit freshmen anymore. Well, somebody's going to recruit them.
Yeah.
And they're going to be in a mid-major. They're going to be on a team that's that's placed well together for 2 years. And then that whole sophomore class is out of there,
Someone's going to develop them. Someone's going to make them better. Someone's going to coach them up. And then someone else is going to come in and gobble them up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
The only way this works, to Paul's point there, is like, for example, Monday night when I was home, St. Mary, who I do the broadcasting for, they were playing a summer league game in the gym of Felician University, which is a D2 school. Right? I'm just thinking to myself, the only way this works for Seton Hall is that we start developing, behind the scenes, obviously, a system where not many high school kids are going to be recruited to D1 basketball anymore. So maybe they go to D2 for a year or two, get developed, and then we have a chance of getting them from the level below us. Otherwise, how are we ever going to compete with the St. John's of the world or the UConns of the world? We're not getting top recruits anymore. And, we're not getting anybody out of the portal. Because we don't have the funds for it. So maybe there's some kind of system where, you start having these back channel agreements where, hey, maybe we have somebody who's that think of all the people that left us this past year or last year, that maybe, all right, we'll swap guys out. Maybe you have somebody there who's going to be eaten up by somebody else, but send them our way, and we'll give you our guy who didn't perform as well, but we'll succeed at your level.
Yeah, I don't know how you develop a farm system of other colleges when the players have so much freedom. I mean, we were talking about that a couple of shows ago, Bobby, right? This idea that, Shaw has contacts. There's other Seton Hall coaches at mid-majors, and they funnel the players to Seton Hall. I don't know how you can funnel them in the environment that we have. And Nicole brought this up a couple of shows ago too. First of all, part of the quote unquote problem is that we keep watching. Southern Cal and UCLA were mainstays of the Pac-10 for 100 years. literally 100 years. And then one day somebody called them up from the Big Ten television network and said, we want the LA market for cable TV. Would you like to join the Big Ten? And they dropped and destroyed the Pac-10 and joined the Big Ten. And now the Rose Bowl doesn't make any sense anymore because it was always the Pac-10 against the Big Ten. Now Southern Cal and Oregon are in the Big Ten. And if you're a fan of Big Ten football, they have a thing where they're on Fox at noon, and they have there's a Fox Network Big Ten game that starts at noon, and it's fine if you're in Penn State because noon is noon. If you're in Iowa, noon is 11 o'clock in the morning, and if you're in the LA Coliseum, noon is 9 o'clock in the morning. So they're playing these games at crazy hours. Rivalries have been destroyed. And when my friend got me tickets to Penn State, Ohio State at Beaver Stadium, there were still 112,000 people there.
Right.
So as long as people keep buying tickets, they're going to continue to do these short-sighted things that they think are going to give them a little bit more money that we're all saying are destroying the sport. And they're only going to destroy the sport. They're only going to be really destroying the sport when we stop buying tickets.
I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying this to judge or cast on anybody, but 3 years in a row, we lost our best players to other teams, Tyrese, Kadari, and Isaiah Coleman. You just can't do that to have continuity. Yeah. I think the number one priority has to be to sign your best players up, even if to pay them more. I'm sorry, you just can't do that. That's not going to sustain a winning program. To Paul's point, it's just not. So, yeah. And Chris, for you there's no continuity when that happens. I mean, I'm going to be honest. We follow it, right? As much as anybody. We have no idea how this team's going to be this year. We have no idea what the starting lineup is going to be. We have no idea, maybe Bud Clark, but we have no idea who the point guard is going to be. We just don't. And normally we would have some idea because there'd be some continuity. Some players would be coming back.
And because if you also want to bring in the idea of the student body and how important they really are, when you don't have continuity and those certain players sticking around, you then see the drop-off in attendance, which is what we've seen the last few years. When you lose guys, like you said, Tyrese, you lose Kadari, now you lose Isaiah. If you don't have a single student, I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not, because we have yet to see in these last 2 to 3 years a consistent squad. Even Dre Davis has left for Ole Miss. Like a lot of your star players leave after a year, and then what is there to watch? Because the team you now are going to watch next season is brand spanking new, because everyone just came from either high school or some other school that you didn't even know existed half the time.
Right.
So it makes it harder in that sense when we preach attendance, because half the student body, or if not the entire student body, has no clue who's on the roster because it changes every single year.
Great point. My son graduated with Desi, Kadeen, Angel, Mike, Ish, all of them 4-year players. That will never, ever happen again. And that is sad. I'm sorry.
I want to add something real quick too on what Chris was saying. Shoe Athletics allegedly kicked out Bluebeard Army. They don't have a spot in the student section anymore. That very
Wait. Timmy Ice, the Bluebeard Army. Timmy was the cap. You know Timmy Ice.
Bluebeard Army, as far as I know right now, does not really have any type of leadership.
That when those players I just mentioned.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about like current.
No. But those players, that student section was never better with the Stack Monster's son and Timmy Ice, who was the general of Bluebeard Army. Yeah, and you're saying there is no Bluebeard Army?
Allegedly, from what I've heard from other students on campus, Shoe Athletics allegedly was selling those seats.
Because I saw Frank the Tank in those seats.
Well,
I think they were putting VIPs in those seats.
Yeah, but Frank the Tank was always had a seat there with the students. Like that was always a thing. But now
that was Bluebeard Army seats.
Yeah, but now they're putting like big money donors there. So like, what's the point? What's the point of paying extra if I can't even go sit there anymore?
So the big the across from our bench is like Regents Row, where all the Regent people,
Yeah.
they're there, and the other side, big money donors. So now you're saying they expanded it to the first row of the student section.
Yeah. So now the students can't sit
Wow,
there.
the Bluebeard Army has been moved back.
That's an oxymoron. Big money donors? What?
Yeah. If they're big money donors, why can't we get players? Big money donors. I mean, they're not big. I mean, look, I give what I can afford, and I'm far from a big money donor. But if you're a big money donor, I mean, come on. It's
now, Nicole, has there been anything? I saw the photograph of the women's team being on campus. Have we had any news of how their workouts are going or anything like that?
That I'm not too sure of.
Well, let me say this. Our favorite female coach, not Gino Uriema, he's not our favorite, Coach Tony Bozzella, was named to the Women's Basketball Coaches Association Board of Directors.
Yay.
Congratulations, Coach Bozzella. We love you, Coach. We can't wait to have you back on. Our highest rated show yet when Coach Bozzella was on.
That's awesome. Now guys, has anybody ever thought of this? If we're starting to pay players, which means they're kind of losing their amateur status, what's going to stop us from bringing Miles Powell back to play for us?
Well,
I asked about that. No, you have to complete your 5 or 4 years in X amount of time frame.
Yep.
There's still eligibility rules. There's still academic rules.
I said that too. I said, can Isaiah Whitehead come back? Right? Because he only played 2, and they said no, because he could have, but in X amount of time.
But what's interesting is that the NCAA is still administering that set of rules, while this other gentleman is administering the money rules. So I can't wait to see when those two guys clash.
But also, Powell was not eligible for the COVID year. It was the class after that was eligible.
Correct.
So he graduated Seton Hall. So how would he have extra eligibility?
I'm just saying, well, because you're taking away the amateur status of these players now because you're paying them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's pay them to come back and play for us.
But Isaiah had 2 years of eligibility. Isaiah Whitehead had 2 years because he left 2 years early. Yeah. You're right. Miles didn't because he just missed the COVID.
I just threw his name out as an example, but why couldn't we bring these players back?
Well, again, I think
under the rule that, hey, we're not paying players; they're no longer amateurs. So,
well, again, you've got this one organization that's managing who gets paid, how much they get paid, are the rules being followed, and then you have the NCAA, which is still arguing that the student needs to be enrolled, they need to be making satisfactory progress toward a degree, they need to be maintaining a certain grade point average. There's a whole set of academic rules that the NCAA put in place back when the NCAA used to actually pretend that these guys were college students.
Yeah.
And those rules are still in place.
But to follow up on Bobby's rule, guy plays 2 years, okay? Then goes anywhere, Europe, NBA, whatever, 1 year, misses the college and wants to go back.
And wants to get his degree.
What's preventing that?
I don't know that there is anything preventing that.
And by the way, what academic rules were Cooper Flagg following this past year?
He's actually supposed to be pretty smart. I'm
just saying. I mean, he's one and done. So what are they following?
Bobby, the Seton Hall men's basketball team had a GPA of 3.25. So somebody was going to class. Last year's team.
I'm saying for the one and dones. I'm saying the Cooper Flaggs,
Well, no, they were all our guys from last year.
Dylan Harper,
one and dones.
Dylan Harper. What was he? What was his academic?
Well, he went to Rutgers, so what difference does it make?
Wait, but on that, when you go to Rutgers, do you really go to Rutgers? Meaning, like, don't they have little side schools like Livingston College where they go?
They got a farm college out there.
Right. They have living. So when you go to, that was all my argument. Rutgers would get players that we would never take because they stash them at Livingston College. and technically their degree would be from yeah.
Campus is only so big. You can pretty much find anybody who's 6'5" or bigger walking around somewhere. Rutgers, yes, Rutgers, you can hide them anywhere out there.
Well, I don't know. I live in Somerset, so if I see people 6'5" guys with our jerseys hiding, I'll be sure to let you guys know.
Hey, you had a big night in Somerset last night. My daughter went, right? You had Giancarlo Stanton and Marcus Stroman.
He was and Giancarlo was playing today too. I didn't go out to Bridgewater to the game, but I think he was playing.
And yesterday was Dollar Hot Dog Night, and it was a doubleheader. You can't beat that.
No, absolutely not. Oh, and we haven't talked about Mrs. Nick's huge victory on Tuesday.
So it was a primary and Democratic primary, and the mayor won. Her and her partner won, and now it's on to November, and that's going to be challenging and feisty, and it's kind of starting already. But it's what we signed up for, what she signed up for. So but thank you. It was interesting.
Well, my only question is, she won by a relatively small number of votes from what I saw. Is her primary opponent now going to back her? Or
I'm sorry. It was vote 2.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
Oh, so it's 2 seats. So the person who came in second was actually her partner.
Oh, okay. That's her ticket. Okay.
Right, and they ran against the person that came in third. So I think she got like 1,600. Her partner got like 1,580, and then the third guy got like 500.
Oh, okay.
So the partner's not running against her.
No, well, theoretically yes, but they're running together against the 2 Republicans in November.
No, but I mean, like in November, are they running against each other?
Well, in November, there's 4 people, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans.
Okay.
And you get to vote for 2.
Okay.
So, guys, I had a cutout last week, unfortunately. Did you guys discuss the baseball team at all?
No.
Are we not talking about it?
I don't think it's a good idea, honestly, because we honestly don't know what's going on with that. I mean, it's a very touchy subject.
Okay. I mean, I haven't heard much about it in the past couple of weeks.
No, I haven't either. That's why there's really nothing to report on.
I mean, there were allegations filed. There was a lawsuit filed. In the allegations, it was said that the baseball coach was informed. I'm going to say in my line of work or anyone's line of work, if that is the case, then you don't go running to the media and tell them what you're doing, but you are doing your due diligence and, assume that Seton Hall did do their due diligence, and this thing is just gonna, play itself out in the courts. But yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is between that and what's happening with our men's basketball team is like Mr. Felt. Would this be the end of his tenure if something should be found out that happened?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Brian. I think Brian's very good at what he does. And I think if this came to his office, he would probably do what he was supposed to do, and how, that would all come out in any investigation. No one knows what Seton Hall did. We just know what the allegations are. But did Seton Hall investigate? Did they do their due diligence? You assume that they did, right? But yeah.
If we're being really honest right now, Seton Hall is not in the news. Seton Hall is in the news for not good reasons.
Exactly.
And it's not going to help our case.
But Nicole, anybody can sue anybody for anything. Doesn't mean, and I'm not saying in the baseball case, horrible allegations, right?
Right.
But again, I mean, and you also have the Miles Powell lawsuit going on, which I heard was coming to an end. But again, Google any school in America and people sue them. Google any corporation, people sue them. And, and you just have to let things take their course. in the baseball thing, there were no criminal charges pressed, correct?
No, I don't think so. No.
Right. Not that I know of. So if some of those things happen, you would think that they were criminal, but no.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not judging. It was horrible, but yeah, you have to let things play out and take its course. That's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying though is it's not just athletics that's in like the negatives for it. It's also the university as a whole with, the president stuff going on. Like it's not a good look. And I mean, I wish it would go away, but obviously it's not.
But things are going to happen everywhere. And it's, you have to tend to look at the positive stuff because we had the highest incoming SAT scores of any class in GPA in the school's history. That's extremely right? That's amazing. Right. That stuff needs to be pumped up.
And it never is, right?
And it never is, right?
That's the thing. This stuff is overshadowing what should be talked about.
Great point.
But
that's life in general, right? You turn on the news and you don't hear the good stuff.
No.
Right.
So getting back to our men's basketball program.
Thank God.
We have 2 roster spots available. What is he going to do with this? What are your thoughts, Chris?
Paul, do we have 2? Because
does he have more than 2? I thought I saw someone say something about that.
I thought we had 13, and I think we were up to 10 now. 11 with the new player, so I do think we have 2 left. Now, you asked Chris, so he should go ahead. What are we looking for our last 2 spots?
So, I think with where we're at and off of what we've been saying is that we don't need another point guard. There's no real desire or need to go that route.
Any guards.
No, I still want a big man. That is. I still want to see a big man come in because I do think we have 2 young big men in both Godswill and I always butcher the guy's name.
Payne?
It's like a Sanye Mbaye or something.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, Bobby's favorite player.
Both of them have potential.
Yes.
I want to see someone else come in just because. Again, they're going to be 2 sophomores, not as much experience. So I would like someone else to come into that role and help out in that aspect of the game because something that I've noticed with this team, honestly, in the last 2 years even, the struggles on the board have been a big issue, whether it's offensively or defensively, getting those second chance opportunities or just stopping a run from the other team. Getting rebounds is crucial, and this is a team that I think has struggled a little bit in that aspect because with the big men that we've had, they've never really been the star rebounders on the team. Like I feel like last year it was kind of a rotation of everyone just getting out on the boards, not really just Godswill or just a core of 4. It was always just someone else getting the rebounds. So I want to see a big man come in who can average 8, 9, maybe even 10 rebounds a game. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see dominating in the paint. So I think getting someone in that aspect would be crucial, and I think that should be the first look for with these last 2 spots because I think that could really round out the spot. Something I've always been preaching has been 3-point shooting. And I feel like we have gotten players that fit that role, maybe not up to the level or standard that we would want or hope, but we've filled that role a little bit at least. So I would like to see a big man come in and kind of help out with some of our younger guys.
Piggybacking into that real quick, do we think that with this way how the NCAA is now, NIL, everything, will we ever see walk-ons?
No way, because it's money now. It's because it's all money. It's going to be looking for the big names, looking for anyone who's willing to come in and change an organization. Because a lot of schools now are also looking for that 1-year talent, because everyone else is going to go somewhere else for the money. So even if you want to get a walk-on, you're not going to see much of them, if anything at all. So because of that, players are going to be there for 1 year, leave, go somewhere else.
I think a walk-on is going to be like at the women's game. It's going to be a practice player.
Exactly,
Right.
and that would be their main role. So,
Right.
and I think, and if anything, actually, I think even in men's basketball, it's going to be a little bit less because money is more prevalent. So because of that, it's still going to be more so than the women's side, more of a 1 year, get paid, you didn't do so much, let's go to High Point. Like, that's what it's going to end up being. So I think walk-ons are going to slowly diminish. I don't think they're going to be gone, but I don't think it's going to be as prevalent.
So where's Nick Morgan? He was going to do research on this because every time I look at Evan Maya's portal, David Gabriel is in the portal.
He told Nick that he's not.
I don't know.
He said he's committed to Seton Hall. He wants to graduate.
Is he on campus right now taking classes? I didn't see him in the workouts.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
And to Nicole's point, did we sign any high school players this year?
No.
None.
Right?
No.
We did not sign one.
We got somebody next year,
Next year, yeah.
but and hopefully next year we add Anthony Avent's son to that list. But again, all about money now.
Well, it's Chris. To your point, I was thinking about the walk-on question. In order to be a walk-on, now all these schools are now hiring general managers, who are supposedly going to be doing a much better job of scouting and identifying players both at the mid-major level and other colleges and at the high school level. So in order to be a walk-on, you have to be good enough to play, yet somehow been missed by this whole new industry that's looking for guys. So I think it's going to be harder to find somebody talented enough to walk onto a major program and play who didn't get an offer from somebody someplace. Now, that said, if there is that kid and he shows up to practice and you don't have to pay him any NIL to get 12 minutes out of him a game, I think that is going to be the most valuable commodity you can have. Now, you only have him for a year, right? Because as soon as this kid's getting 12 minutes a game, scoring 7 points and 4 rebounds, he's gone.
Yep.
But you might be able to get that kid.
Remember, Shavar Reynolds started as a walk-on.
Yep. And now look at him.
And the other thing to be a walk-on, again, I'm thinking through what Chris was saying, you would have to have been able to get a D2 offer, or D3 coaches would have to be look at you, and you would have had to say, no, I want to go and take my chances at this program because I love this program. I grew up in New Jersey. I've always been a Pirate fan. This is where I want to play. And I don't know that that's going to be the attitude of too many high school kids in an NIL world, right? No. I mean, everybody's going to say, how much money did you get? How much money did you get? You got 100,000. I only got 90,000. So it'll be harder to find that.
Also, Paul, to your point regarding the GM, it actually sparked a memory from Saturday. The coach that was giving the tour, he said that there is no plan currently to hire a separate GM. Shaw is technically your GM. He's the one doing all the scouting.
Shaw's buying the groceries.
That's it. Yeah. Now, as far as guys that I want, I've been trying to think. You got two guys who can play point in Clark and in TJ Wilkin, I think. TJ.
What about the guy who came back? Felton.
Felton.
He's a point guard.
Yeah, he's a point guard too.
So that's 3.
Then you've got 6 or 7 swing players.
Yeah.
And then you've got 2 or 3 big men, none of whom are all bigger than 6'9" or 6'10". None of them are offensively inclined. Okay. So how are you going to play? Are you going to just rotate wings in? Are you going to have 2 units? Are you going to have the Comanches or something like that who come out with the 12-minute mark in the first half and just play all out and, press, go crazy, try to wreak havoc, and then come out of the games? I'm wondering, to me, that decision drives who you want left. If you're going to play a conventional style, then Chris is absolutely right. You got to have a big man who can do something offensively, and you got to have somebody who's going to get you 10 rebounds and 5 block shots. Otherwise, you don't have an anchor for all these wings. If you're going to play unconventionally, maybe you are looking for 2 more guards. and you're not going to worry about playing a big man because you're just going to run up and down the floor. You're going to press like crazy. You're going to try to get 20 steals a game, and that's how you're going to win. So I don't know what Coach Holloway has in his head for this team. To Nick's point before, we don't really know, but I could possibly see him going in the other direction and just trying to play defensive pressure type basketball because that's what he was good at.
Well, that's what this team is built for right now, right? I mean, Adam Clark, point guard, AJ Stanton, McCray, 2 or 3, Elijah Fisher, 2 or 3, TJ Simpkins, 2 or 3, Payne's a big, Trey Parker, 2 or 3, Jacob Dayar, 2 or 3.
Rivera's a 3. They're all swings. They're the only big guys are Payne, Godswill, the new guy they brought in,
Sumanik,
and Bobby's got Mbenge or everybody else dribbles the basketball and shoots.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of go off of that because I think the team is built for that style. But when you go and look back at Seton Hall's history, I've believed, and I will stand by this, they have always had and have had a star big man that changes their team. Names that always stand out, and I've repeated these names so many times. Jaden Bediaku, Ike Obiagu, Tyree Samuel. These have been guys that have completely changed Seton Hall's game, and all of them being very different. Ike was more of a defensive stop. You could never get past the guy. Wasn't as great offensively, but on defense, changed the game. Jaden Bediaku was more kind of an overall, did everything. Not as much offensively, but he was still a presence on the offensive side and could change the tide. And then Tyrese, I mean, he might have been one of the biggest and most clutch big men I've ever seen Seton Hall ever have. I forget who it was. It was either against Texas or Tennessee. One of the T's. He had like a game-winning buzzer from like 30 yards behind the arc.
I was at that game. It was down in Orlando at the Disney Classic. Yeah.
And I will never forget that game because he had a shot that you would have never thought a big man to take. And it was amazing. So from what we've seen, Seton Hall has, I don't want to say relied, but a big part of their game has been the 5 spot. So that is why I think, although this team is now shaped differently, I would still like for us to go back to those roots because clearly it has worked for us. And I would like to try to get back to that as close as we can because going back to the whole consistency part of what we were saying before, from my time, I remember seeing Ike Obiagu and Jared Roden. Those 2 guys were there for 3+ years, and I've never had more fun watching Seton Hall basketball because of the way they played and because they were there consistently. So
I'll never forget it. The Twin Towers.
Those it was that time of Seton Hall in my eyes. Again, this is just because of how long I've been here. Those times were some of the best because we played the big man basketball and guys stayed around for a little bit longer. So,
and the flaw in my argument, Chris, is who's going to guard Kalkbrenner? Right now he's gone, obviously, but there's one out there, right? Somebody's got to guard him.
Bobby, Paul, we're going to play zone. We're going to play a 1-3-1 zone with all the wings. That's what this looks like. But to Chris's point, we're known as Guard University, and you could go back to Bob Davies and Richie Regan and Greg Tynes and Nick Dallas, Calandrillo, and on and on and on. But whenever we've been successful, we've had that big man to go along with the guards. And I'm going to go Glenn Mosley and Mark Bryant and Anthony Avent and Angel Delgado and, guys like that. And that's when we've been our most successful. And we don't have that right now. Now, Ike, and don't forget Romero Gill, they were defensive stalwarts. And that was maybe we have that. And I still like our guy. And God's will, I think he has great potential. And let's hope that potential comes out.
No.
And we had Dan Dunn, who Bobby and I have been talking to, and John Garcia from the same high school as God's will.
Now, I came back to watching the Hall when Powell was the star. And so I inadvertently got to watch Mamu
Right.
go from a gawky, glommy center to a guy who was hitting 25 footers consistently.
Yep.
Now I know that was Willard in terms of developing that player.
Player development, yeah. Shad too. Shad we worked with him a little
But
bit.
but I mean to go even further, I don't we haven't seen Godswill, we haven't seen Payne, we haven't seen any of those guys shoot at all. And right now they have enough work to just develop their inside and defensive footwork. But that would be to have that kind of an offensive option, Chris, to your point. Because let's face it, when Mamou stepped out and hit a 25-footer, that was fun basketball.
Well, on that same team was Trey Jackson. And that's what Willard did. Willard wanted that stretch 4 or stretch 5 to hit those shots. That was Willard's style. Because when Villanova was successful, they had 5 guys who could hit threes. And, again, going back to Willard, defend his college basketball, defend the 3, shoot the 3. And right now, that isn't our strength.
Yeah.
I see us, trapping, pressing, playing a 1-3-1, and scoring off of turnovers and scoring off of fast breaks.
And if that's the case too, I believe when it comes to your 5 spot, obviously don't get me wrong, it's nice to have them be able to do both sides of the game,
right,
offensively and defensively. But in the style, if you want to play with the whole press style, you get a big man who's so good defensively. You allow 3 to maybe even 4 guys press up. Your big man sits back, and you're comfortable with that.
That's right. How we were with Romero Gill. That was our exact style with Gill.
And that's how Seton Hall has thrived. That's been some of their best basketball.
So you break the press, and there's this 7-footer standing down there ready to swat whatever's coming down.
If you will stand right there, and then all you see is this.
That's right.
You're not getting past them.
And Romero Gill's the perfect example. He wasn't recruited heavily at all. We got him. He was raw, and we developed him. And maybe we could do the same thing with Bobby's guy.
And, don't get me wrong. Again, I would love for them to be good offensively. But your 5 doesn't always have to be good on both sides because depending on how you play. If your style is more defensive and more conservative playing in the paint, then your big can be better on the offensive side because you can play down there and play low. But if you want to play high tempo, play fast, press, shoot from behind the 3, your 5 can just sit back, relax, eat some popcorn out on the court, and enjoy his time down in the paint. That's how basketball should work. I think
get a couple of putbacks.
Absolutely, and I feel like Seton Hall has yet to be able to get back to that point
to find that
in
guy.
the last 2 years.
Yes.
So I would love to see that happen because then you got a team that can click on all cylinders and everyone's doing their job. Because that's what's so important about basketball is that as long as each guy does their job, you're going to win 20-plus games a year. That's all that matters.
You do not need 5 scorers. You need a couple scorers and role players. That's what you need. I agree.
Every single school you've seen play well has 1 to 2 guys that have been complete stars. Then you got other guys as supporters / role players, and that's what makes them such a good team. So, again, once Seton Hall gets that 5 they can do whether the defensive or the offensive side of the game, you then got something going here because I think with every other player that we have brought in has been able to fill those other roles, whether it's the point guard, being more of an assist type of guy, or shooting from behind the 3-point line, whatever it is. We've filled those roles, but that 5 spot is the last one we're looking for.
Still need.
Well, you could look at this team and say we're the opposite. We don't have any stars. We have all role players.
And that's the one thing. Because we've also said, too, is that this team is kind of building for depth, that a lot of these players are going to be coming off the bench and a lot of guys getting between those 10 to 15-minute mark because you're going to be rotating guys consistently, which is, again, I don't want to say not the route to go because I understand the want for that. But we've seen what works for Seton Hall, and we've seen what works in college basketball. It is getting your 5 guys that will all play between 25 to 30 minutes, and then you go and win the game by 15 or 20 because you got the same guys out there who know how to play with each other and can click on all cylinders. So when you have a roster like this, you don't have that, and you don't have all the role players that you're looking for.
Well, I was going back and forth with that blogger guy, and I said, he said Shah, likes to play 10 or 12 players. I've never, ever heard Shah say that. And the team that had the NIT run 7 players. That's a perfect to Chris's example. We had 7 players. We had the starting 5, and we had 2 guys who came in off the bench and did other stuff. But that was Kadari and Dawes and Bediaku. Yeah, that was that team. And Davis, and that team was solid. And we went with 7 guys. So to say that Shah prefers to play 10, 12 guys, that's not necessarily the case. But let me ask you this, Chris, Paul, and Nicole: who's our leading scorer this year? Right now, who's going to be our leading scorer?
Clark.
God's will.
God's will is going to be our leading scorer. Okay, that's our opinion.
God's will is a tough one. I honestly,
she's entitled.
I think he has potential. Don't get me wrong.
By the way, Nicole, we're winning a national championship if you're right. By the way,
if you're right, I was going to say that. If Nicole's right,
averaging 20 points a game, we're winning a national championship.
Honestly, who I want to see be the leading scorer, because we've seen flashes of him. I would love to see Felton lead this team because I think he has the potential. Do I think it's going to be completely shown? No. Again, because of how many players we brought in and how Shah is going to play the rotational basketball, I don't think he's going to be able to show his true talent. So that's who I would like to see.
I'm going to say Clark or Stanton McCray are going to be our leading scorers. And hopefully our leading scorer is over 15 points a game.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Well, I have one last thought before I'm going to have to go to bed. So what happens when you get old? By the way, Chris and Nicole, don't get old. Okay, the smartest thing you could do is just stay young your whole life.
Yeah, Paul, but you got to admit it beats the alternative.
It does beat the alternative. but the when you think about this, I've been around a lot of teams. I've never played sports. Okay, I'm very good at math. Okay, if they had a math team, I would have been very good at it. But teams have social structures, right? And there are seniors and there are juniors, and they come in and they know what the program is, and they have relationships, and everybody knows who the boss is and who the captain is and who the leader is, and the freshmen come in. There are 3 players who were here from last year. Neither one of them had any particular large role to be chosen as a leader. And then you've got so far, 8, 9 players who have all come from someplace else. And somebody has to turn that into a cohesive unit. And I think that is going to be an amazing challenge for Coach Holloway to even figure out who the leaders on the team are going to be. When 2 years ago, nobody had to ask who our leader was. Last year, we didn't know who it was. And this year, I don't know who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the guy in the locker room who goes over to the other guys and say, hey, listen, you're not practicing hard enough. I'm not going to wait for Coach Holloway to tell you to go out and take 200 foul shots. You better go do it. And who's going to be those guys? What's the locker room going to be like? Because there's no structure in it right now. The guys don't even know each other, right? They've known each other now for a week. So to me, that one of the hardest things about reassembling a new team every year is that part of it.
The good part about this time of year and summer school is you get to do that, a little bit more low key. So,
well, that'll be valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, because when we had Coach Boz on, he was very clear, that you had Jada and Savannah. Those were his leaders. These were the other people who were the role players. This is how the new ladies were going to fit in. He had an idea because he had a structure.
Because he had those 2 leaders, those 2 stars to begin with. And he said that.
Yeah, more than once. That was very much part of his thing. I have a structure. These are my leaders. These are these are the other people. These are the new people I brought in. This is how we're going to make them fit in. And I know how to work the personalities.
And I even asked him what players are going to bring that intangible factors that you're losing. And he knew it. He had that answer. And I don't know if you could say that on the men's side right now.
I don't know how you would.
Yeah, how you could, right?
Well, I'm going to have to sign off, folks, unfortunately. Nicole, I'm so happy that you enjoyed the gala.
Thank you.
Chris, at some point, I'm going to knock on your door for Taylor Swift tickets, and I'm going to want them before Nicole.
Wait, Paul, you're a Taylor? No, Paul's a Swiftie?
My daughter is a Swiftie.
Okay.
That is more important than me being a Swiftie. I got a text message that said Taylor owns her catalog. I have no idea what that means.
She
That
does.
means
I
she
don't
owns
know why that's
the
important,
music.
but apparently that's very important that she
Yes,
owns
it
her
is.
catalog. She's only got. By the way, there's somebody we could be nice to see if we can get her to donate. She's only got more money than God, right?
Yeah, really.
So, but apparently this is an important thing. So Taylor has her catalog, and my daughter went to 3 of her concerts and would go to more because who knows if she's never going to tour again. And it would be tragic if Taylor Swift decided to stop touring. And my response was, she's selling 75,000 tickets a night at $100 a pop.
100 is way more than 100.
She's not going anywhere. She's not going anywhere. I mean, to get tickets through the normal process, the vetting to go through, you have to be in the club and then you have to do something else. I don't know what my daughter did to get 2 tickets to see her at MetLife. I think it involved, she may have had to take a written test to prove her loyalty to Taylor Swift in order to get the tickets, but she got them. Yeah. So keep that in mind, Chris. I need 2. I need 2 right behind the stage.
I'll see what I can do.
Okay, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Bye, Paul.
Be good. All righty. It's another episode of Hall Hoops and Happenings. Summer's approaching. The news is starting to filter out, but we'll be here. We'll probably post every week, whether we're taking a week off or, hey, we may pop on with breaking news. Who knows, right? So any final thoughts? Chris, hello.
All good on my end. Again, Seton Hall Basketball, I'm still hoping and I'm still praying that we can go back to our roots with how we've played the previous 5 years, again, with a lot of those big guys. So hopefully at some point we can see Seton Hall bring in someone that can get us closer to that point. But again, all comes with time. So we'll see what happens.
Nick from Milburn?
I am not happy with my Knicks. We made the Final Four. We were a bad call because, yes, that was a technical foul with this on Halliburton from being in the finals. And we fire our coach, and we obviously fired him with no plan. And we're just going to any retread coach right now where we probably wouldn't have been better off just going to Tibbs. This is 100% Mr. Dolan meddling, and that is not good. The Knicks called me. They wanted me to re-up my plan, and I said, whoa, let's put the brakes on this for a little while, and let's see where we're going. So not happy with my Knicks right now after the best season that we've had in years. Thank you.
By the way, did you see Jeff's post today?
Oh, yeah, Shaw's in the running.
All right, Shaw, Seton Hall declined job from interviewing with the Knicks.
Yeah, Nicole's in the running for Seton Hall. I mean, everybody's in the running to be the Knicks head coach. It's ridiculous now.
Nicole.
My final thoughts, besides our little promo of our lovely group, there will be a bar anticipation event in Lake Como on June 21st. I hope to see some of you there.
Wait, it's a young alumni event.
No, all alums are.
Oh, it's not a yak? Not a yak?
It's not a yak?
It's organized by Yak, but it's a way to welcome the class of 2025 into the alumni family.
Right. So I walk in the room, the average age drops by 20 years or goes up by 20 years. So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
what's a young alumni?
10 years from
Okay,
your graduation.
So 31. 32? Right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd say roughly 31.
Are you going to that, Chris Jones?
What day is it?
It's Saturday, June 21st.
There's a concert probably.
I have a soccer tournament, so
there you go.
Unfortunately, I will be awake at 3 a.m. probably. So.
Oh boy. But yeah, it's supposed to be a fun time. With your ticket purchase, you get unlimited barbecue and 2 drink tickets. There will be raffles. There will be a ton of mingling and getting to know other alums. I've gone to the past two, and I will say I'm very excited for my third one.
So what does that Gister wear to the young
Oh no, here we go again.
to the barre?
Well, last year I wore Seton Hall blue denim shorts. Like they were
There you
actually Puebla with a white bodysuit. I don't know what I'm gonna do this year yet. I'm still trying to decide because I don't want to repeat. Though it was a very cute outfit, I will say. But I want to be on theme with the Seton Hall colors.
Right. But it's not dress up at all.
No, you're literally walking in sand the whole time. So no,
Yeah.
All right.
it's fun though.
I think part of our summer homework, I guess, for lack of a better word, is I think we need to take this show on the road a little bit.
That would be nice.
Do some live shows. Yankees won 1-0. There we go. Who pitched today, by the way?
Clark Schmidt? No?
I think it was Warren.
Will Warren, yes, Will Warren.
Wow, Yankees are definitely. We have to get our Yankee show going because we're definitely.
I would love to do a Yankee
We
show.
are definitely ahead of where everybody thought we were going to be right now. So we'll have to talk about that. Maybe the Yankee show will fill in for the Hall show, since the whole news is starting to really become slow. But yeah, I'd love to take the show on the road. I would love to get us featured in one of the publications. We have between our group and the show itself. I think we deserve a place in the fandom of Seton Hall, and I think we should be out there more.
I mean, hey, we're cemented in the wall now at the athletic center.
Yeah. And I'll make a pledge that if surge sports ever becomes a $1 billion industry, I will give back like that guy from Vitamin Water. I up to the gods. That'll happen, but I think I'm too old for that to happen right now.
Well, that's the thing, too, with me. If I would ever happen and got that much money, that would be absolutely where I would put it. I mean, so I don't know why other people don't. Maybe they don't have the money or they don't have the passion. But, yeah.
Well, real quick, I know it's getting late, but I always had this thought. I mean, when you go to a high school, and if you're fortunate enough to go to college like we have, right, and have gone to Seton Hall, I mean, we could all be Yankee fans, Cowboy fans, Knicks fans, right? But unless we actually played or worked for that team, right, we're never really a part of the team. You know what I'm saying? But when you're a graduate of a high school or a graduate of Seton Hall, we are a part of something.
I sum it up like this. I'm a fan of the Yankees. I'm a fan of the Knicks. I am a supporter of Seton Hall University, and there is a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to a small high school. If they ever did well in a sport that they're about to play for a state championship, I'm going to be there, right?
Right.
That's your legacy. That's
right.
From.
That's right.
And
but Nicole and I have a brick. We supported Seton. This group got a brick. I mean, that's what we're supporters.
If Seton Hall ever gets.
I will say, though, it also depends on the experience that you had. Because for me personally, I'd rather donate to Seton Hall than I would my high school, 100%.
Well, you went to that all-girls finishing school, right?
Yeah.
Finishing school?
With sister, what's her name?
Yes.
I always make you laugh, always.
I know you do. But I'm telling you, I was more sad to leave Seton Hall than I was sad to leave I was more sad to leave Seton Hall than I was to leave high school.
You ran out of that finishing school. You said, I'm finished with you.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It gave me nothing. Seton Hall gave me everything. And that's the difference.
For someone, and we talked about this last week, whose majority of friends are guy friends, I couldn't see you at an all-girls school. There you go. Well,
the only reason I went to an all-girls school was because all the guys bullied me in grammar school.
What?
So we thought it would solve that.
Wait. You know why they bullied you, right?
I didn't know at that time.
They liked you.
Well, I didn't know it at that time, but I would have never dated them anyways. They were very mean. But it turns out girls are worse.
Yes. Yes.
Girls are worse.
All right. Well, Nicole, you and I have to figure out why I can't post on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, really? What the heck's
Nicole,
going
you
on?
blocked Bobby?
No.
I set
What?
up the show, right? So the past 2 weeks, normally, like I said, when a show starts, I go on. Nick takes over.
Right.
With the first topic, I go on my phone or my computer. I'll start blasting the show out.
Right.
So, but from the beginning, when I on my own Facebook page, it comes up as private. But until last week, and now this week, I was always able to change that private to public, and then blast it out to all the groups. For some reason, StreamYard changed something where it's now goes to my page as private, and I can't change the privacy.
Yeah, like when we go live on YouTube, it will show it there, but it won't show Bobby's profile as live on Facebook.
So
like
I
people,
literally go through YouTube and blast it out there.
yeah,
So
they could
that's
only
not
go
the same
through
effect
YouTube.
as Facebook has.
Yeah, Facebook has a lot more of an effect though, because you literally just scrolling and it's right there live. You just click right on it. Whereas with YouTube, you have to jump to the other app and then go to it.
Exactly. Well, another week. Hopefully, the news gets better on our side of the island, Seton Hall Pirate Island. And have we figured out our mascot? Are we going with the parrot? Or are we going with the? Was that a discussion?
I actually asked the pirate on Saturday why he doesn't have a name. Like he's just a pirate. Like why isn't he called something like the name, like the name and then the pirate, like Pete the pirate or something like that.
Like Blue the Bulldog.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows where I'm getting at.
There
And
we
he
go.
just shakes his shoulders.
We need new branding in our university. We need to.
You know what? It would be a good NIL opportunity. Like, bid a name and then they vote on it and the winner gets some type of season ticket package or something. Because how many? I think that would be a NIL spinner.
We need to do something. Anyway, we're off. We'll be back hopefully next week, if not the week after. We'll see how the news cycle ebbs and flows in the world of Seton Hall. And on behalf of Nick from Milburn, the Gister, Chris Jones, we'll see everybody soon.
Good night. God bless.
And for the dads out there, happy Father's Day.
That's right.
Happy Father's Day, Bobby.
Happy Father's Day.
Be good.